Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to show you how I made a mold for this Highland cow that I then casted. So what I have here is my Highland cow, and it is an ornament that I got from Hobby Lobby, and it had glasses on it. I took that off, filled in the holes, and it also had the little screw at the top, which I took that off and filled that in. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to take some hot glue and I'm going to put it on the bottom of my Highland cow, and then I'm going to put it in this clear Solo cup. And that's going to hold my mold. So we got him stuck to the bottom, and now I'm going to get out my scale. And I'm using the J. Diction mold, silicone mold. And it is a part A and a part B, a part A and a part B, and you measure it according to weight. So I don't remember how much I put in this, but I wanted to try to make sure I had enough to cover the whole cow, which I didn't. I had to mix up more, but that's okay. So here's my part B. I already did part A. I put equal amounts of part B, and of course I went over. So I had to put a little bit more part A in there. Once I got equal amounts in, I'm just going to stir it for 4 minutes. Going to put my scale away because I don't need it anymore. Mix my silicone for 4 minutes. And here we go. And now it's down to 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I can start pouring my silicone into my cup. Oh, and the way I filled in the holes that were in my cow was with UV resin. So I'm just going to dump my silicone, or actually slowly pour it over the top of the cow and sometimes along the sides and all like that. And then I realized, oh, I didn't have enough. So I have to mix up some more. And I'm just going to scrape it out with my spatula there. It has a little curve on the end, which is real nice and real good for silicone and resin. So here I mixed up some more, stirred it for the 4 minutes, and then filled up. I didn't fill the cup up all the way, but I definitely filled it up over the horns quite a bit. So then I let this set for several hours. And I probably should have waited longer, but, you know, I get impatient. And so what I did was I just cut down the side of my cup, and then I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that top portion of the cup off. So I'm just going all the way around, cutting that off. And I'm sorry it's out of frame, but if you do any videoing your crafts, you'll understand it is very hard to make sure you are under that camera when you're filming. It is very hard. So I just cut that piece off, and then I'm going to continue around the rest of it. And I did loosen the silicone from the top side of the cup around, all the way around it, before I started cutting. And I am trying to hold the cup out away from my silicone mold there as I'm cutting. I do end up, you know, going into the silicone just a little bit, but it doesn't matter. It's all right. So I'm trying to get the rest of the cup off. The only thing is the bottom portion that is now the top there of my silicone mold wasn't totally firm. Well, it was firm, but it was kind of sticky. So I probably should have waited. But again, I'm impatient and I went ahead and did it. So I'm just doing this piece like I did the other piece. I'm just going to start cutting it off, going all the way around the cup. And my mat there at the bottom, which is one of those, oh my gosh, what are they called? The ones that you put in your oven. It's one of those mats, just was slipping and sliding all over the place, which was making it more difficult to keep it under the camera. So there, I'm just trying to get that bottom portion off, so I'm just going around it, squeezing it, trying to loosen up the glue that's on it and the mold, the silicone. So there, I'm just going to pull it up around the sides, loosen it up a little bit more. And there, I got the bottom of the solo cup off. Now, as you can see, there's some glue and maybe a little bit of silicone left on the bottom of my cowl there. So I'm just going to peel that off. Now the silicone I'm kind of cutting off with my little manicure scissors. It's just the excess silicone that seeped to the bottom of my Highland cowl. This silicone from J. Diction is pretty firm. I think if I'm going to do molds in the future, I'm going to buy a different kind that's not as firm. Because I find that I end up tearing these molds when I'm trying to get the figurines out. And as you can see, I mean, I sped this up 10 times because it was taking me so long to get the cowl out of this mold. And right now I'm squirting it with my 90% alcohol. Was it 90? 91, I think. Just trying to loosen it up so I can get it out of the mold. And there I am squirting it again. I mean, it was very, very difficult. And it even ruined my nails. I had to take the stuff off of my nails too because it just totally ruined them. But I work at this and I work at it and I work at it. I'm like, man, I just can't get this out. That's why I think if I used a different mold, a different silicone that is maybe not as thick or not as heavy, I don't know, that it might work better. Because I do end up splitting my mold in, I think, 3 different places. And I wasn't happy about that, but it still works. It does still work. You really need at least 3 hands to get these things out of the mold. And I'm serious. 3 hands. I need an extra hand. But you can see my finger there, how nasty it looks. Because the paint was coming off of my figurine. There, we got him out, popped him out. It's all good. She looks pretty good. I didn't tear her up or anything. I think one of her horns actually broke off a little bit. And I'm going to use this copper color mica powder. So I did put 2 scoops of it in my resin, and I'm using Let's Resin 2-part epoxy, and that is by measurement, not weight, but by ounces or whatever. So I mixed the epoxy up for 4 minutes, and then I did spray my alcohol in my mold, and then I put my finger in there and kind of ran it around, trying to make sure that it got in the horns and all that. And then I'm just going to pour a little bit of my resin into my mold, and then I want to make sure that my resin gets in the horns. So I'm just taking my tool there that has a silicone into it, and I'm trying to make sure there's not any bubbles in the horns. And then what I do is I fill this mold up about 2/3 of the way, and then I put it in my debubbler for 4 minutes. And once I get it out of my debubbler, some of those bubbles come up to the top, so I'm just taking my little lighter there and I'm popping those bubbles. Now this lighter with a short end to it, and it's almost kind of a torchy lighter, I got off of Amazon. There was 4 in a package. So I do pop as many bubbles as I can with that, and then I'm going to finish filling up my mold. And then I take my lighter again and I pop any bubbles that have come to the surface. And I do use other molds for my leftover resin, and I'll show you that in a separate video. So this is the next day, and I knew I was going to have to start out with putting some alcohol down in the sides of my mold there to try to release my Highland cow. And you can see when I pull the sides of the mold from the cow that there are like 2 or 3 ripped spots in the mold. But I mean, I don't think it makes a difference when you pour it. I think it's okay. I mean, I do hate that I ripped it, but... And then I finally put it on my table because I just couldn't get a good grip on it while it was on the mat that was slipping around, which it's a Teflon mat, and I had it on my my leveling and heating table, and it was just moving all around. So I put it on the table, and I was able to get it out a little bit better, but it did take a while. I'm not going to lie about that. It took quite a while. So here it is. I really like the color. There's my cow, my Highland cow. Isn't she pretty? She has a leaf in her mouth. She has a bow on her head. I'm just turning it around so you can see. It turned out perfect, actually. There is a little ball looking thing in one of her ears. I don't know what that's about, and that's why I was looking in the mold. I'm thinking, well, what is that? I don't know what that was. But anyway, I take my fingernail file, and then I just file down the bottom because, you know, it is a little jagged. It is a little sharp. So you really need to file that off to make it smooth so somebody, you know, doesn't cut themselves on it. Once I get that done, I just wipe it down. And then I'm going to start decorating it. So I use this antique white apple barrel acrylic paint. And mine is really runny because it was almost empty and I had added water to it. And I don't care that it's not like full coverage on my horn. I think it looks okay being a little thin like that. But if you want yours, you know, to be full coverage or whatever, then certainly don't put any water in your acrylic paint. Or you can use paint pens. I don't really, I have gold, silver, white, and yellow paint pens. And I don't really like using them much on my resin pieces. I find that I have more control over a little tiny paintbrush with acrylic paint than I do with the paint pens. But maybe I just don't have the right paint pens. I don't know. But I'm just going to use a paintbrush in my paint. And I do the horns in the antique white or ivory or whatever it was. Now I'm going to use pink parfait. Who doesn't like a parfait? Everybody likes a parfait. And I'm going to paint her bow that's on the top of her head. And that is Apple Barrel Pink Parfait paint, acrylic paint. And she really didn't have any noticeable holes in her either, so I was happy about that. I think the filling the mold 2/3 of the way up and then putting it in the debubbler helps a lot to eliminate the bubbles or the holes. So I will continue to do that. All right, well, her bow looks pretty good. Here I'm showing you. I know I don't stay in the lines very well, but hey, it's hand painted, right? And now I take some pumpkin Waverly chalk paint, just because that's the orange I had, and I'm painting the leaf that she has in her mouth. So I'm just going to paint the front, the sides, and the back of the leaf. With the pumpkin orange chalk paint. But I think she's so cute. When I get finished painting it, you'll have to let me know what you think of her. So I get the leaf painted orange, and then I'm going to take this red apple barrel paint, and I'm going to highlight like the ends of the leaf to make it look like, you know, part of it is turning red. So I'll mostly just do that on the top of the leaf. I did do a tiny bit on the back, but not very much. And that was cardinal red. And I'll show you that in a minute. But there she is so far. Yeah. Cardinal crimson, I guess. And there's the pumpkin orange. And now I have my black acrylic apple barrel paint, and I'm going to paint her nostrils first. And I'm using a really small tip paintbrush for this. And I'm going to do her mouth. And she didn't really have eyes, so I wanted to put some eyes on her. So I just, you know, kind of did a dot with my paintbrush where I thought the eyes would be. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I wanted her to have eyes. I know normally they show these cows and the eyes are underneath their fur or whatever. But I wanted her to have some visible eyes. And now I'm just taking my black paint again, and I am painting her feet. I think I'll have to make another one of these, maybe not on video, and maybe I'll get my husband to help me pull it out of the mold when it's cured, because you really do need a third hand, and I'm not going to be able to grow one anytime soon, so, and that would look kind of weird anyway. But yeah, I might make another one. But I won't film it because I already did one, and you probably don't want to see it again. You want to see different things, right? And I did paint a little bit on the very bottom, on the black, with the black on her hooves. Just a little bit. I think she turned out cute. I mean, Highland cows are cute anyway by themselves, but yeah. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, so I have her all painted up, and there she is. It's so cute. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments section. I really like to know, is this something that you like? And there she is again. I do like her with the eyes, though. I do. And here she is sitting on a stump outside of the house, and I thought that made a really good picture there. And again, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. And I'd like to hear any comments or requests or anything you have to say. I would love to read what you want to tell me.